I am a currently student at Deltech, and one of our requirements is to have a mocking counseling. Um, I thank you for being part of this assignment. We will be discussing about real situations. Um, Everything that we will talk is going to be confidential, um, except if there's anybody um, uh, I must report instructor as required by state law a serious issue of harm to yourself or others, indication of abusing or neglect children, the elderly, or disabled persons. Um, this is going to be videotaped. If you wish to stop this, let me know. And what brings you in today? Oh, before we start, can you please sign?
Yes.
Please.
All right.
So what brings you in today?
So I really would like to just get back into counseling and, find ways to deal with my stress or ways to gain a support system. I feel like I lack both of those fields. I feel like I have really good time management skills, and I've taken advantage of them because now I have so much on my plate that it's hard for me to not get so stressed out or feel so overwhelmed.
Do you work?
I do. I have 3 jobs. I'm a store manager. I'm a shift leader I'm a store manager at Annie Ann's. I'm a shift leader at Cinnabon. And then I work at Dunkin' Donuts, and I also go to school full time. So this semester I'm taking 3 classes in over 10 weeks, one of which being online with me teaching it to myself.
That's a lot to handle.
Yeah, that's what everyone tells me, and they're like, "Oh, I don't know how you do it," and like I would be so burned out, and like I am, and I know that, but I have so many irons in the fire that I just can't pull them out. I just can't stop what I'm doing when I'm running a store, and I just can't not show up at my jobs. I just have to keep being stressed out, and I can't fail school. And I've looked at different solutions on how to minimize my stress, but I just think I need extra help, in looking at things that I'm not already looking at, if that makes sense. So I've cut down my part-time jobs a lot to maybe 1 or 2 days a week at each one, and just kind of kept my full-time job. But then I start getting bored and I start overthinking stuff, and I'm like, oh no, I need to work. I have too much time on my hands, and it's just kind of hard, knowing I either have to be completely stressed or I start, having too much anxiety or I get too depressed.
Is there any other options?
As far as instead of working myself,
Mm-hmm.
I've never really been one to get in a hobby. So crocheting or doing artwork and stuff, it's never been for me. I used to draw a little bit. But
Something else that interests you?
I don't know. I've never really had time to explore myself. I was raised in a strict home where I did what my parents told me to do when I was told to do it. And then I started working at age 14 I started volunteering until 16, so I would never have to be home because I never liked being home and with my family because of some personal issues. And so then when I was 16, I got a job and I started working full time, and I realized how much I loved it and how much I could just earn my own income and support myself at a young age, and I was like, this is great. So then I got a second job, and I just been working 2 and 3 jobs since I was 16 years old. I've never really
Had time for yourself?
Had time for myself, others, and it's hard to like build really strong friendships or relationships with anybody because I'm always at work, and it's always been a priority to me because that's like, at the end of the day, I know I'm gonna have a job to turn to if I keep working hard and I keep doing what I need to do to keep it. And I've just always, if I'm gonna waste my time doing something, I might as well get paid for it. I might as well, keep progressing forward so that I have money saved up for like emergencies or to buy a house or move out on my own.
You live with your parents right now?
No, I actually have no contact with my parents. I live with my sister and her husband, which is also pretty stressful because she moved away when I was 8 and she didn't come back until I was 16. And so there was like a huge gap of my life where she wasn't involved in it. And so, we grew up as completely different people with completely different families. And then my family bashed her all the time for leaving, so I was never given a true representation of her. And two years ago when I got out of foster care, I moved in with her and her husband, well, about a year ago, sorry. So I moved in with her, and it's just been kind of weird because it's, her and her husband. And I feel like I'm third wheeling and like there's just somebody I don't know and I don't trust.
Do you spend time with them? Like you do something that you love together with them at night?
No.
Eat out, go to the movies?
We used to eat out a lot when I first moved in because that was like our way of bonding, I guess. Like they loved food. And like that was the only time I would come home is late at night or be home at dinner time, something like that. But eventually I was like, I can't afford this, and like this isn't something I want to do all the time. So I would just pick up night shifts, or I would just keep working so I wouldn't have to talk to them. Or him and I don't get along, so I avoid the house so I don't have to deal with it. So there's nothing that we really do besides maybe once, like every couple months, we go like on an outing together to like an arcade or a museum or something. But I don't really like being around them too much to build that relationship because I don't trust people. And after like everything I've been told about them, I don't know what's true and what's not true because I've caught my sister doing some of the things that everyone was telling me she was doing, and she tells me that she's not.
Do you think these issues go back from your childhood?
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of it is not knowing her, not being able to trust her. And then the only people that I do trust tell me not to trust her. But then the only people that I ever have trusted betrayed me. So I have a long line of having nobody to trust. So how do I know if she actually has my best interest at heart? Especially when we don't get along now.
Do you get to spend times with your coworkers? Do you think that will help you forget?
Sometimes, yeah. For the most part, I just work with them and I try to keep it at work because of my position. It's a little biased if I hang out with some of them, but not the others. I don't want anyone to think that there's favoritism with my personal life and the schedule and the hours they get and what shifts they work and who moves up and who doesn't. So I kind of try to keep it all or nothing with that. There are nights that like we all hang out together and like play Cards Against Humanity, or some of us will go out to dinner. And like, I have a good rapport and relationship with each and every one of them separately. And I do consider them friends. It's just hard for me to keep it professional and not have them involved in my personal life. I don't want them to think that I'm so stressed out that I can't handle my job, or that I'm not doing the means of what I need to do there.
Describe your perfect you.
My perfect me? Honestly, I would like to see myself in a place where I can, support myself financially, physically, and spiritually, and emotionally, so that I don't feel like I'm stressed out all the time. I feel like I'm either, doing really well financially, and then I just want to cry every 10 seconds, or I have so much time on my hands that I feel like I'm worthless and that I'm not doing what I need to do to support myself or to move forward in life.
Do you go to a church?
I was raised in a church, but after I was like 14, my dad told me I wasn't allowed to go to church anymore. He wouldn't take me. So I just kind of stopped going because I wasn't allowed. And then, I started volunteering and I got a job. So I've just been working almost every Sunday since. So there's never really been the opportunity presented itself. I work retail. Our busiest times are the weekends.
It's the time that is most busy.
Yep, so I can't really take off. Usually Fridays I work a 9-hour shift, Saturdays I work a 9-hour shift, and Sundays I work a 9-hour shift, so it's hard to, find time in there that's still daylight that I can still do things.
Your sister doesn't go to church?
No. After a recent surgery, they wanted to get back into church, but it's not, I've never really been too religious just because of different things that there's always been a conflict between my father's views and my grandma's views, or my maternal mom's views. So, he's always told me not to be religious as they've told me to be religious, and, you never know what to believe.
What do you believe?
I don't know. I really don't. I'm at a standstill because I believe there's something out there, but, I was so young growing up, I don't know the truth, and I haven't really looked into it or looked into believing anything too spiritually. Like, I believe there is a God, but I also believe that, mythology might be right, or, there are other religions that could be right. I don't know if there's just one. I don't know which is the right one, or if parts of everything is true.
So you're confused about your faith.
So I don't know if I'm very religious at all, or if I've ever really looked into the possibility of it.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
As far as, like,
your life?
I mean, hopefully within the next 5 years I've got some type of degree, hopefully bachelor's. I definitely want to be living on my own at that point with maybe a roommate or a friend outside of my family's house. I'm actually hoping to accomplish that goal in a couple months, but here's hoping. But I want to be in a stable career. I don't really know if I want a relationship. Just because that's a bunch of extra stress that I don't think I need, because I'm already at my wit's end, that I don't think I need to add anything onto it. But yeah, I'm hoping I'm healthy and, financially stable and at a place where I can not only help myself, but others in my family, or my grandmother per se.
Do you have a close relationship with your grandmother?
I've always had, yeah. Up until recently, she went through a lot of surgeries, and she had gotten MRSA, and she had almost died, and now she has dementia that's leading to Alzheimer's, so she barely recognizes me. And it's really hard to talk to her because, she has so many problems that I don't want to stress her out with my, dumbness. And she just has, a lot going on with her, and it's hard when you try to tell somebody something and they don't remember you or anything you said the next day. And then, or they don't remember that you don't want everyone knowing it, so now all the neighbors in your family know your business. So we had a close relationship. I care for her, I love her, and I wish her well and hope for the best, but as far as her being somebody I could go to, I don't know.
She's the only person you have close?
She's the only person I've ever gotten close to. I was really close to my stepmom. She raised me for 10 years, but then we had some trouble with the law together. She ended up doing some things that weren't okay. She ended up trying to pin me out to people that she was cheating on my father with. When I found out, I ran away. I reported it to a teacher. and my counselor at the time, and they reported it to DFS. It was investigated. I already removed myself from the home, but then I was legally removed from the home. And I ended up in foster care. And then my stepmom was a registered sex offender, and I'm no longer allowed to contact her because she's never allowed to have contact with me again or any minor for 25 years. So
It seems like you lived a lot of stuff.
yeah, so, she's just like the only people I've ever trusted were like her and my dad, because my mother has passed, like my biological mom has passed, and my dad sided with my stepmom when everything went down. So I was never allowed to talk to either of them ever again. So it's just been hard to learn to trust when everyone I have trust has betrayed me. So.
We will be meeting 3 times a week. And I want you to write down in a journal something that you're thankful of for each day. And we'll see you next week.
Alrighty. See ya.